Following video is not made for kids. Your discretion is advised. Greetings to my subscribers and fellow Transformers collectors. This is the TFNG coming to you with what will hopefully be a successful Transformers review. And tonight we're going to be taking a look at what some collectors would argue is the best core class figure of the Transformers Kingdom line. It is the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Core Class Soundwave with the Laserbeak cassette. So you can see on the artwork there, Soundwave does come with a cassette version of Laserbeak. Laserbeak does not transform, it's just a little plastic square there, so that's a little bit of a letdown, but but I think it's an accessory piece that adds to Soundwave. So yes, that's some nice artwork of Soundwave there. Here's the Soundwave figure itself inside the box. Coming around here to the back, you've got the official product photos. You got Soundwave in his robot mode and in his cassette tape mode, just like G1 Soundwave, so that's pretty awesome to see Soundwave be a cassette player again. And he transforms back and forth between both modes in 8 steps. And yeah, Soundwave is pretty great. I've been waiting with anticipation to get a hold of the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave. Hey, more than any of the other Core Class Transformers figures. Now, for those of you wondering, why does my copy of Soundwave, his box, look a little beat up? That's because I got Soundwave from Amazon, and they sent Soundwave in an envelope, so his box got smashed up while it was being sent to me. But the Soundwave figure itself survived intact, and I'm just really digging Soundwave's appearance, how true he is to the Generation 1 action figure, plus his animation model from the G1 cartoon series. And I just love the shade of blue plastic that was used here on Soundwave. I apologize for my camera making the every single bit of reflection on the plastic box cover coming up on screen. So without further delay, hey, let's get Soundwave out of his box and take a close look at him in robot mode. Alright, and here is Core Class Soundwave in his robot mode, and I gotta say, he is impressive. I just can't get over how similar Core Class Soundwave is compared to his Generation 1 counterpart. Now, if you hear any noise in the background, and my house is underneath the fly zone for the airplanes that come in and land at the airport. But yes, Soundwave, he is pretty impressive looking. I love all the detailing that went in, the paint detailing on his chest, the Decepticon logo, the yellowish gold outline on the tape door, the buttons for the cassette player on his utility belt, his laser gun, and his shoulder cannon. And I love how they have Hasbro and Takara even painted the tiny Gatling missiles inside there. They painted the tips red. It's hard for me to see with my eyes because they're so tiny, but holding up in front of the camera, yeah, that's red paint on there. So that's pretty impressive looking. And one thing that Transformers fans have been divided over is the color of Soundwave's visor. On the Generation 1 Soundwave action figure, his visor was red, but in the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon series, Soundwave's visor was actually yellow. My camera's, I apologize for the low quality. My camera's making it look as though his visor is actually almost orange, but it's actually red, for those of you wondering. So for those of you wanting Soundwave's yellow visor that he had in the cartoon series, the Core Class figure unfortunately has the red visor from his G1 action figure. But for those of you who wanted the red visor version of Soundwave, then the Core Class figure has you covered. So, for points of articulation, Soundwave's head is technically on a ball joint. It's in part because of his transformation, but unfortunately his head can't really rock side to side. It can only rotate 360 degrees left and right. Since my copy of Soundwave is fresh out of the box, his neck joint is still a little tightened. The other joints, however, some of them are very tight and some are really loose, like the ball joints in his elbows are really loose, but the ball joints in his shoulders are super tight. He doesn't have a waist swivel. It will in part because of his transformation, but he does have ball joints on his hips, so his legs can go outward, and they do feel as though they have the potential to go back at the hip, but because of his waist skirt or the hip joints are blocked. He does have a swivel joint in the thigh. He does have hinge jointed knees, so he can move his knee forward a bit. And because of how he transforms, he can have reverse knees on there. And then his feet are attached to his legs on ball joints, so he does have a little bit of ankle pivot. But again, because of how the joints are shaped, there's at the back of Soundwave's legs and his feet. The ball joint is somewhat limited. So the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure, while it does have the modern points of articulation, it does feel like most of the Core Class figures as a miniaturized version of the Generation 1 Soundwave figure. So for a quick size comparison in robot mode, here is Kingdom Core Class Soundwave next to Kingdom Core Class Megatron, who I'm going to review next, hopefully soon. But yes, there is Soundwave next to his commander. I apologize for the legs going out of place like that. But yeah, Soundwave is smaller than Kingdom Core Class Megatron, so because they're being sold at the same price tag, if you have Kingdom Core Class Megatron, you might be a little disappointed finding Soundwave selling at the same price tag, since Megatron has a lot more plastic on him. But you shouldn't let that deter you from getting Soundwave, because one of the main reasons I've been excited about Kingdom Core Class Soundwave is the fact that he has a cassette tape for his alt mode, just like the Generation 1 Soundwave figure. And I just love that we now have a tiny sized official Soundwave figure by Hasbro that turns into a cassette tape player, because if you have any larger sized Soundwave action figures, you can take the Core Class Soundwave figure, and if you wanted to, you can mass shift, use your imagination, and have Soundwave, one of your larger Soundwave figures, mass shift into the alt mode of the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure, which is what I tried to do in the thumbnail of the video. Was give the illusion of Soundwave mass shifting as he transforms from his robot mode to his cassette tape mode. So one nice thing about the shoulder cannons, might be a deterrent to some collectors, but the bottom of the shoulder cannon and Soundwave's laser gun, they've been hollowed out and flattened and to allow them to sit more comfortably on his arms and his shoulder. Some people might find that a deterrent, considering that on the original Generation 1 Soundwave action figure, his shoulder cannon and his laser gun transformed into a pair of faux AA batteries that Soundwave stored inside him in cassette mode. Oh, but don't let that be a deterrent to you. One nice thing that I do like is that, just like the Generation 1 Soundwave figure, there is a sculpted button here on Soundwave's other shoulder, and on the Generation 1 Soundwave figure, you press that down and the cassette door would open up on a spring. Here on the Core Class Soundwave figure, you do have to open it up by hand, and there's Laserbeak stored inside. Again, Laserbeak is just a plastic square. Here it's a non-transforming Laserbeak figure that's still a cassette tape. So those of you wanting to have a transforming figure of Laserbeak this size, unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. Laserbeak just does not transform. But other than Laserbeak not transforming, I personally don't have too many gripes with Soundwave. And just look at all the paint apps used on him. He's got silver and red detailings on his shoulders. Again, he's got his red visor. I apologize for my camera making it look like it's orange. Orange, the silver mouth plate, the Decepticon symbol on his chest, the yellow frame on the cassette door, the cassette buttons on his utility belt, and the same silver paint detailing that the Generation 1 Soundwave figure had on his legs. And here on his laser gun, he's even got the red stripe. The red stripe isn't painted on his shoulder cannon, but yeah, the Generation 1 Soundwave figure had the red stripes there on his laser gun, so that's pretty impressive that Hasbro and Cartoon were able to apply paint apps so many paint apps onto Soundwave. I think that the paint apps make up for his size, making him slightly smaller than the other Core Class Transformers figures. So to transform Soundwave, simply remove his shoulder cannon and his laser gun. Set them off to the side. Just for now. The transform Soundwave fold in his hands and rotate his arms around. And then there's some little slots right here on his forearms, and sorry, I can't get my angles correct. There's little slots here on Soundwave's forearms, and they'll go into these plastic pegs right here on the back of Soundwave. And so you clip them in like that. Make sure the arms are straightened out. One thing to note is that when you transform Sound right out of the box, transforming Sound for the first time, his shoulders will want to stick out at this angle. You have to make sure that they're straightened out with the rest of the arm. Okay. I think I got it. Yeah. Right, that's one shoulder straightened out successfully. Now for the other shoulder. There we go. So yeah, make sure the shoulders are straightened out. Then you want to take Soundwave's head. Again, out of the box, the ball joint on my copy at least is a little tight, so you want to rotate Soundwave's head around and then fold it down into this hole on the back of him. And one nice thing is that when you want to transform Soundwave back into his robot mode, there's a little tab there on the back of his neck that even if you have short fingernails, it's just tall enough so that you can grab onto that little tab and you can pull Soundwave's head, use it to pull Soundwave's head out and get him transformed back into robot mode. So that's pretty impressive. And then for the legs, you want to rotate them so that the silver parts on the inside of his shins are facing forward. And you want to rotate the feet up, and then there's little tabs little slots right there on his legs that lock onto these little tabs right here. And as you can see, the double yellow striping there lines up, so that's how you know everything is tabbed in correctly. And then here on the final step of Soundwave's transformation, well, next to last step, next thing you want to do with Soundwave's two laser and just plug them here onto the back of him. And unfortunately, oops, did it on the wrong side. And the two peg holes that these two laser cannons go into, they aren't at the same level on one slightly taller and one slightly lower, and that's just so the laser guns can sit on Soundwave's back at the same level. So put the laser cannon one with the silver tip on the peg that's on the higher side of Soundwave, and then put the shoulder cannon and then on the other peg. Like so, and it for what it does it does act as back fillers for Soundwave, so it makes him feel like he's more boxier than he would normally be without them. On the Generation 1 Soundwave action figure, again, the two cannons fit into this compartment right here. This sculpted detailing is identical to Generation 1 Soundwave, and you'd pull this off and there'd be a compartment for these two cannons, and they fit in there like they were a pair of AA batteries, so that's pretty impressive looking. Now officially there's one last step on Soundwave's transformation, and you basically have to fold his feet down like so, and there is Kingdom Core Class Soundwave in his alternate mode of a cassette player. There. So one thing that a lot of Transformers and collectors are put off is the fact that Soundwave's toes, there's no place to fold them in, so Soundwave's feet end up sticking out here on top. But some people have said that it looks like a pair of cat ears. Some have said that it looks like a pair of owl ears. So if you don't want Soundwave to have two tips on his cassette player mode, you can leave his feet flipped out like that. But again, And that's one of the main gripes collectors have had with Kingdom Core Class Soundwave in his cassette player mode is that his feet don't have a proper compartment to fully transform them into. If you want to really use your imagination, you can imagine that there's like an invisible handle bar right there, here, so you can pick up Soundwave like he would be a boombox like Blaster. Or if you wanted to flip the feed up, you can use your imagination and imagine that it's a perfect box going all the way across. It's all personal preference how you want it on Transform Soundwave's feed. From what I've seen, many Transformers fans and collectors, they are in fact going to display the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure in his cassette player mode instead of robot mode. Due to the fact that they want to see it sitting next to the Netflix Voyager class version of Soundwave figure that was released earlier this year. And just like in robot mode, the chest compartment opens up and you can deploy Laserbeak while Soundwave is in his cassette player mode. And again, I just love the sculpted buttons that are on there and how true Soundwave is compared to his original Generation 1 action figure. And I just love all the detailing right here. It's really hard to tell since it's unpainted blue plastic, but if you look in there, Soundwave does have all the mechanisms of a cassette player right there. That shiny piece is the metal pin on his head. But yeah, there's a lot of nice sculpted detailing in there. And right here on this leg, oh sorry, it's the other one. Right here on this leg, there's even a volume adjuster dial sculpted into Soundwave right there. And it's only on that side, it's not the other side. And that's how cassette players were designed back in the 1980s. And one thing that amazes Transformers fans and recent fans and longtime Transformers fans is, despite the fact that Soundwave's original alternate mode was a cassette player, which is now an obsolete form of technology that people used to listen to music. Soundwave has remained one of the most popular and well-known Decepticon Transformers characters of the entire Transformers franchise. So it's amazing how, despite having originally a alternate mode that is now today in the year 2021 an obsolete form of technology, how Soundwave has remained a relevant and popular Transformers character. Now, every single video review I've seen on the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure in cassette player mode, Transformers fans and collectors have done a size comparison with the Netflix version of Soundwave. And so, unfortunately, yeah, this is no joke. I do not own the Netflix version of Soundwave. I've never found it. Found it at Walmart, where it's being sold exclusively here in the US. So, unfortunately, I do not have the Netflix Soundwave figure. Eager to show the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure off with, but I do have the Siege version of Soundwave with one of the third-party upgrade kits that allows him to turn into a Cybertronian type cassette player. So here is the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave next to the Siege Soundwave figure, just so you guys can get a glimpse of what it would look like next to the Netflix version of Soundwave. And for one last special size comparison, and I said this to everyone whose videos I commented on, one of the main reasons that I got the Kingdom Core Class version of Soundwave was to display him next to this version of Soundwave. So here is Kingdom Core Class Soundwave next to the Titans Return version of Soundwave. When this guy was released back in 2016, a lot of Transformers fans and collectors said that the Titans Return Soundwave figure was almost the same size as the Masterpiece version of Soundwave. And by contemporary reckoning, compared to how big Soundwave is, if a non-transforming figurine of Soundwave were to be released, I think we got one in the Decius Army drone set, but basically the amount of mass shifting that Soundwave undergoes in the Generation 1 cartoon series every time he transforms from his robot mode into his mode of a cassette tape player, if you can imagine Soundwave being the same size robot as the Titans Return Leader Class Soundwave figure, the amount of mass shifting he undergoes is pretty enormous. Soundwave basically goes from a robot this size and he transforms into a cassette player that's actually the size of Laserbeak. So yes, I just wanted to show that off. Out of all the Transformers figures that I have in my Transformers collection, the two Soundwave figures that show how much mass shifting a Generation 1 Soundwave goes in the original Generation 1 cartoon series is he goes from a robot the size of the Titans Return Leader Class Soundwave figure to a cassette player the size of the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure. So yeah, the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure is barely small enough that it looks like Soundwave. Soundwave has his own cassette player, air from when he was reactivated by Teletran 1 back in 1984. So yeah, Soundwave can listen to music on himself if you have the Titans Return Soundwave figure, and it would actually look well, it wouldn't be the size of a cassette player, but it would be the size of a boombox. So yeah, that's pretty fun. Anyway, right there. So yeah, I just love having the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure next to Titans Return Soundwave in robot mode to show how much mass shifting he undergoes. Now, with that said, what the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure primarily has going for it is nostalgia and enjoyment for Transformers fans of Soundwave himself. As far as playability of the Kingdom Core Class Soundwave figure in his alternate mode, unfortunately, this is it. Since it's a cassette player, it's just a plastic box. Nothing you can do with it all except toss it, drop it around. But yes, nostalgia and love for Soundwave is what has motivated most Transformers fans and collectors into getting this, and that's one of the reasons why over the years Hasbro and Takara have struggled to try and reinvent Soundwave with new alternate modes like they've done for Megatron, since a plastic version of a cassette player that isn't an actual cassette player, it's just a plastic box. So that's one of the paradoxes Soundwave has faced over the years, is when he does have a cassette player for his alternate mode, just like the original Generation 1 Soundwave action figure that was released in 1984, or his alternate mode just basically, he goes from a robot to a plastic box. But for me personally, I don't mind due to how much I enjoy Soundwave as a Transformers character. So that's pretty much all there is to say. This has been in my review of the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Core Class Soundwave action figure. I highly recommend you get this figure. This is one of the Soundwave figures to have in your Transformers collection. Even though I just said a moment ago his alternate mode of a cassette player just basically makes him a plastic box. But don't let that deter you from getting this figure, because if you have any of the larger Soundwave action figures, then you can use this version of Soundwave and use your imagination to pretend that Soundwave is mass shifting from a robot that's the size of one of the larger Soundwave action figures into a cassette player this small. I'll end. And in robot mode, Soundwave does have a lot of articulation points. Points for being such a boxy and blocky shaped 8 robot. And if you don't like the feet pointing up here in cassette mode, you do have the option of leaving the feet in the same position as they are in robot mode to make him a slightly square shaped cassette player. But yes, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys all for enjoying the video and watching the review. This has been the TFN Geek, and if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. I ring the bell icon for notifications. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, and until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.